baby. Couldn't stop my feeling to go away on summer day. Never seemed so clear. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, just bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out, and I'll lay your shit bare. See, I'll leave with every piece of you.
Okay, I'm good to go.
Good to go, man. Wow, Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. My pleasure.
You're one of the hardest working, most talented artists that we have, slash entrepreneurs, slash a little bit of everything. So I really appreciate you giving us some of your time. I really, it's thank you.
Of course, man. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. And in addition, I got to tell you, Brian, it was like a personal mission to talk to you because I've talked to a couple of like people in the industry for podcasts recently, and your name randomly comes up as one of the coolest and nicest guys that people know. I'll give you a couple of specific examples. I talked to Ren Evans, the photographer, the Nashville.
Of course.
And she just came about.
She's incredible.
Yeah, she just said you're awesome. Talked to Greta Morgan, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Said you were awesome.
Family right there.
So I'm like, well, you know what? This guy, not only can he, burn the stage, but he's obviously an awesome guy to talk to.
Hopefully I can live up to it. We'll see what happens.
Man, absolutely, dude. So thanks again, Brian. We have so much to talk about, so many projects that you've done, so much stuff in such few years. But let's start with this, Brian. I wanna get to the EP from Human Natural, and I wanna get to all that, which is a great EP, by the way.
Thank you.
Let's go to March 7th, 2020. You are in Miami, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to play the Okeechobee Music Festival about 2 hours north of Miami.
Yes.
And there's a rumor of a virus coming to the United States.
Yep.
Just kind of take us to, it honestly, I actually attended that show, Cold Night, great performance.
Oh, thank you.
It seemed like it was, a great show, but just another one before you guys took a break, like a few months break. What was your thinking? That festival, that day, the band's thinking with the virus and with the show?
Well, I remember we took like a bus there and from our hotel in Miami to, the festival. And on the ride there, everyone was kind of like making jokes about, it's like, man, hey, it's been a great tour, you guys. Like, it's been a great album cycle. Like, maybe, see you guys in a couple of years. Like, we were all like making jokes like, oh, this thing might take out the whole music industry. And then like, when we get to the festival, anyone we see, we're just, elbow bumping. Everyone's aware of like, is this shit going to really happen? And then.
So you were already elbow bumping?
Oh, we were already elbow bumping at that point. Yeah. Cause no one wants to get sick. I mean, that's the last thing you want. But I mean, yeah, we kind of knew. I think a lot of us kind of knew. I think I like took. We have these like wardrobe cases where we keep all of our stuff, and like I have a couple nice pairs of shoes that I only wear on stage usually. But I was like, you know what? I think I might want to take them home for a little bit because this might be the last time I get a chance to like might be like a year before I see these again. And yeah, I was kind of right. So I'm glad I took them. And yeah, that was just. We kind of knew, like we were supposed to go to South America like 2 weeks after that. We're like, there's no way with the way it's spreading. Like, there's no way that's happening. Like, I knew that at least.
You're like, we're not going to Argentina or Colombia. I'm going back home.
No. I was like, maybe September. Maybe we had some stuff scheduled in like September. I was like, maybe that will happen. But obviously,
nothing.
Yeah.
Oh man, who would have thought? Who would have thought that it would be like pre-Okeechobee and after Okeechobee, right? Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, Brian, okay, and before we pivot to the music real quick, let's talk about your apparel brand. You are an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah.
I think you're wearing something right now. People in the audio version won't be able to see it, but it's a really cool tie-dye kind of like fashion that he's got going on. Brian, can you tell us a little bit about your apparel brand, like where the idea came from, how long you've been doing it, and so forth?
Yeah, for sure. This hoodie that I'm wearing now is the first hoodie I dyed, and I kept it for myself. I just really liked it.
Oh, wow.
Okay. But there was like, I think it was like in 2018, there was we were about to start playing. I was about to start playing shows with Vampire Weekend for the first time, and we were kind of trying to figure out like what everyone was going to wear on stage. And I like always used to wear a lot of tie dye. Like I would go to thrift stores and just try to find like cool like random tie dye shirts from like high school field days and stuff like that. Like I have like a lot of stuff like that like in my just collection. But I was like, I mean, I should like like we kind of figured it's like maybe I should wear like tie dye stuff on stage. Like that'd be cool. We were kind of trying to do this like hippie thing. And then I was like, why don't I just like make some stuff? I'm sure it's not that hard. And then I just started like making a bunch of stuff for, my friends and myself. I would go to like, the Goodwill and get a bunch of white t-shirts and just like experiment on it. And then, and then I just kept doing it. And it kind of became, when we weren't, touring and stuff like that and I was home, I would just always make like, a bunch of tie-dye stuff, give it to my friends or whatever. I wasn't really like selling it. Then I started selling like a couple people like saw my hoodies and stuff like that and were like, where can I get one of those hoodies? Like I want one of those hoodies. And I was like, I guess I can maybe sell a few. So I started selling them on Depop, and then like the more I would sell them on Depop, every time I would put up a collection, like 15 or whatever, like they would all be gone in like 10 minutes or something like that. It was crazy. And I was like, man, maybe I should like do this for real, like at some point. So earlier this year, I was just like, you know what, let me just like make a like silly brand thing and like see if anything happens with it. So I just like made a little logo, started putting it on some stuff. And I also, when we were in Europe last year, I started like I wanted to learn how to do graphic design. I wanted to learn how to like, design clothes. Cause I love band merch. I pretty much, if I'm not wearing tie-dye, I'm wearing band merch. I have like, that's my main collection. I have so much band merch. It's crazy.
What's your favorite band merch stuff that you have, like for special occasions?
I have a lot of good Dave Matthews Band stuff. I have a lot of like early 2000s, late 90s Dave Matthews Band stuff.
Nice.
I have a couple good like Grateful Dead shirts, and I'm trying to think of what else I have. I don't know. I just like started essentially any concert I went to. I was just like, let me just get like the cool thing that they have. So I have mostly what I'm wearing at all times, whether it be a pair of shorts or a shirt or whatever. But essentially, I just wanted to make band merch, but I started making like, goofy, like fake parody band merch. And then I ended up kind of like throwing that on a couple hoodies and stuff like that. Started selling them. People liked them. So now I'm doing that. And now that, the music industry is kind of like in a weird spot, the next like 6 months to a year, who knows, I'm gonna just put a lot of time into the tie-dye thing and the apparel thing and just see what happens.
You'll be flying your bands around the world, with your entrepreneurial earnings. That's amazing.
Hopefully.
Isn't that cool? Like how this situation has brought out time for people to do some certain stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. I'm just like, yeah. This is the weirdest time to be alive for sure. And it's definitely like a little bit of, a retreat to just like go in my backyard and just like make a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And people like it. So I'm going to keep doing it until people like stop buying stuff. But
it's pretty awesome. I gotta say,
stuff.
I mean, you have some tapestry tanks, long sleeves, like I said, like some really funky, crazy, like designs. Like it's pretty awesome. So people should definitely check that out. Yeah, for sure, Brian. So, you're so talented. You play bass, you're a producer, you do all kinds of stuff. Well, but I want to go back to your childhood for a second, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Virginia. Let's go to Ashburn.
Yeah.
Let's go to Ashburn for a second. What was your family like? How did you grow up? Was it an artistic family? Where does this come from?
My dad my dad is a musician. He'll tell everyone he's not, but like he loves music. He plays drums, and he comes from like a bit of a musical family. He has like a lot of cousins and stuff that do music, and I have an uncle who's like a great bass player in New York. So my dad was always turning me on to cool music and stuff like that. And my mom isn't as musical, but I get a different side of it from her. Like my mom was really into like musicals and stuff like that, and I now really like musicals, and it's a big thing that I sell on my website is I buy like all these Les Miserables t-shirts and I tie-dye them. Yeah. And that's one of my biggest sellers. But yeah, that was kind of my thing growing up. And I started playing bass I think when I was like 11. One of my friends got a guitar. My best friend got a guitar. We did everything together. So I was like, oh, I'll get a bass and then we'll do that. And then and then we just started playing music all the time. And we that was just like our obsession. We went through phases. We did like comic books, we were into wrestling, but then the music one just kind of like stuck. Like we were just like obsessed with it, and we just we were really into like the pop punk scene. So we were like we were playing shows opening for all these like big MySpace bands and stuff like that, but never really like cut through by any means. Then I started playing with this other band when I was like 15. These guys who are super talented, and these guys Richard Wynn and Brandon McCusker, who are still my friends now, but we don't really play together anymore. But I learned like everything I know from playing with those guys. They were like 3 years older than me. Like I was 15 when I started playing with them, and they were 18. And they knew how to record. They knew how to they were like virtuosos at their instruments, and like,
oh, that's great.
I met the guitar player and the singer at Allstate in the All Virginia Jazz Ensemble. That's what they called it. And I was 15. I was a sophomore. He was a senior in high school, and we just like kind of hit it off, and we started playing music together.
So you were hanging out with the seniors. That's super cool.
Yeah, I was hanging out with the older kids.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
Cool guy. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah,
what was the name of that band that when you were 15?
That was called Mercury in Summer. And then we moved out to LA when I went to college here, and we changed our name to Carlton.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did see some stuff from Carlton. You guys were pretty good. I didn't know it was like the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, those guys are the best.
So you mentioned you went to USC Thornton, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's obviously one of the most prestigious music schools in the world, I would say. The alumni list out of that music school, Brian, is insane. It's like 5 pages long, bunch of Grammys, anything you want. What was it attending USC Thornton?
It was honestly really incredible, and I do have to give a shout out to my bass teacher growing up, who kind of like prepared me for the college scene like really well, and like kind of talked me through like the first year or two of like theory, like before I even got to school. So I got a lot of time to essentially a lot of the classes weren't as hard as they needed to be for me, because I had, my teacher in high school kind of like prepped me for it and was like, you have to get good at all this stuff. So I had a lot of time to just, do stuff I wanted to do and meet people and play with people and jam with people. It was just like the network there is kind of second to none. Like,
sure,
everyone, you just get to build, and it's the big advantage of USC is just that it's in LA. So you're right in the thick of it, and you don't have to like move from another city and get your foundation again anywhere after you graduate. It's like I was able to build my foundation and my network from the time I was like 18, and like that network has pretty much like every major opportunity I've gotten since I've been here has been through that network. And I can't say enough good things about the time I had there. I really liked it. I had like a great time.
You had a great time.
Met all my best friends. Like, it was great.
That's great. That's awesome, Brian. Yeah, I mean, and from here you've been on so many musical projects, right? Like so many directions we can go. Like you recently played on Hayley Williams' debut album. You produced Ren Warren's Good Girl EP. But let's talk about your first, I guess, touring experience. My chronology must maybe a little jumbled, but you toured with Gwen Stefani. That was like your first major tour, right?
Yeah, I'd done like little things here and there with some, smaller things that I wouldn't even really consider tours. But my first like major thing was with Gwen Stefani, and that was really fun. Yeah. I actually got hit up for that. One of my teachers from USC was her musical director. And he was just like putting together an audition. I guess they were like trying to get some new people for the band, and he just hit me up, and I think like, I just went to the audition, and it kind of just like locked in immediately. Like, it just like made sense. Like, I was a huge, No Doubt and Gwen Stefani fan growing up. So it was like, I was really familiar with the music, and I kind of just like, I think because I knew, I don't know, I was just really familiar with it. So I was really able to kind of just like be in the situation. I was like, I know how this is supposed to go, sort of.
The spirit, not just the notes, like the spirit of the songs.
Exactly. So that we kind of just got, thrust right into that. and just started playing. And we did a lot of touring, did a lot of like private event type things, but it was like a really great time, and I like grew up a lot.
Sure.
Like, doing that, because everyone in the band was like a lot older than me for the most part, like at least like 10 years older than me, if not 15. And
yeah,
I just these guys have been around forever. They had all the wisdom in the world and
all the experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of able to.
That's amazing. So impressive, Brian. So impressive.
Thank you.
And so let's talk a little bit about Human Natural, if you will, for a second. It's obviously a duo for my followers that don't know. It features Brooklyn-based vocalist Hannah Winkler. She was on Secret Someone's, right?
Yes.
How did you meet her? You guys have such great chemistry in that EP. It's really, really a fun listen.
Thank you. We actually met each other. There was like a period of time when I was right out of school, and I was kind of trying to be like a pop producer, sort of. I don't think that world was really cut out for me, but I would always play people's stuff, and like the stuff that I was working on that kind of was like maybe a little more like jazzy influenced, or a little more like out there.
Why would you say that? I'm sorry to intercede. Why would you say that it's not enough for you? Just because you like to be on stage, like you?
I mean, it's a little bit of that, but mostly I just like don't know if that. I don't know if I like possess that skill set to work that quickly, and that like I'm just not that like patient. I guess in a way too, because it's like you need to be able to have like all these things at your fingertips, and I was just like I just like to like throw a bunch of ideas down. Yeah. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, whatever. And I like to meticulously work on things for a long period of time.
Yeah, and I think
you need to be able to work way faster there.
And I also love that you're on stage. Like you, it's great that you're a producer, but like, listen, like, people who have seen you on stage, like, sweet mother of God, what a firecracker! You just like it's a dynamo. Like I wanna know what you're drinking, what you're having, because it's just 2 hours of nonstop. It's fantastic. So anyway, sorry to intercede. Yeah.
Okay, no, you're all good. But it was just like a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, and I just wasn't really ready for it. Something I could see myself doing like later, but at that point I wasn't really ready. But I just was making these kind of weirder instrumental type things that were like a little more jazzy influenced, or like funk influenced, that weren't as like of the time.
Right.
But I had a session with Hannah. We got put together in a session by someone that we both worked with, this guy Martin at Cherry Tree Records, and he and we just kind of hit it off immediately. She went to music school too, and she's friends with like all the guys in that band, Wolfpack, and that. So our worlds kind of like we had a lot of similar interests, and we both liked boy band music and like NSYNC and that kind of stuff, and we just hit it off like immediately. And she kind of just like responded immediately to all these things that everyone was just kind of like brushing aside and being like, I don't really get that. That's crazy, but like I can't do anything over that. But she was like, oh yeah, we could do this with that. We could do that, this with that. We could just like, oh snap, like this person like
perfect chemistry.
Knows this person gets what I'm trying to do. So yeah, we just decided, we were gonna make some more music. I think that was like her second to last day in LA or something like that when we first met. She lives in New York.
Yeah. But
we scheduled a little trip for like December of that year, and then we just made we made like 4 songs in 4 days. And I've never had that kind of boot camp type thing with anybody, but it was just like we were able to just like knock a bunch of stuff out really quickly. It was like, oh yeah, we got to do this. This is great.
It true? Woke up in LA. You did it the first day you met. Is that a true story?
Yeah. That was I had that instrumental for the most part done, and then she just came in and we just like wrote it that day, and I was like, and I was like, how do we do this? Like, I haven't like come out of a writing session being like, oh yeah, that was really cool. We did. And I was doing a lot at the time, and that was the first one. I was like, oh yeah, I'd just rather do like this all the time instead.
Oh, man, that's great. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. Everyone
sure.
Immediately has to listen to that EP. Really good stuff.
Thank you.
Let me ask you about Muna, right? Is that how you say it?
Muna, yeah.
Muna. It came out recently. I mean, recently, 4 years ago, 2016. But it sounds like it's from another era, Brian. It's, when I listen to Muna, I feel like I'm in a John Hughes movie in like 1985 or something. Right? It's like a trip. It's fantastic. It's, glowing, smooth 80s, really good stuff.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah. Tell us about that project. You know, Katie Gavin, Joseph Masking, Naomi McPherson. How do you look back
Yeah.
at that project? Yeah.
So Katie was her first year at USC was my second year, and we took songwriting class together. And like immediately upon like seeing her sing her like first song for the class, I was like, yo, who is this girl? She's so cool and like weird, and just like I need to be friends with her. So like I definitely befriended her, pretty fast, and we became pretty close. And then she started working with Josette and Naomi, the other people in Muna, and they started writing songs, and they were like really good. I was just like, man, this is like a real thing. Like this like everyone kind of knew like immediately. I was like, this is like everyone else has got something going on, but like these people really, these people really know what they're doing. So yeah, they just started making stuff, and they had an EP that I kind of helped them. Their first EP that is not really around anymore, I kind of helped them finish that up. I like mixed it and added a couple things here and there, but and I've been playing with them. I haven't been playing with them that much anymore, but the first little bit of stuff I was helping it like get off the ground. I was definitely there. Sure. But they're just the best, and that first record they have is really incredible. And then me and Scott, the drummer, we got to play a lot on like the second record, which is really cool. And they've just like made something bigger than, their fans are just so diehard and so cool. And it's like special. Going to a Muna show is just like the best vibe in the world. Like everyone's just, it's just the most inclusive, awesome. Friendly, kind environment. Like
everyone welcome kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing quite like it, honestly.
Wow, Brian, that's great, man. That's awesome. Well, thanks for that. Let me ask you a couple of Vampire Weekend questions. Sure. Obligatory. So, how did the collaboration with Vampire Weekend come about?
So there was it's like a weird friend of a friend of a friend type situation that happened where I was looking for this one bass that I really wanted for a long time. And then I told my friend that I was looking for it. And then he said, oh, my friend has one of those at his shop. So I went and met the friend at his shop. And then, his friend and I just, started talking, and we ended up talking for like 2 hours. We just like kind of hit it off. And I came to just check out a bass and buy a bass. And, he heard me play bass for a couple seconds. And I was like, I'm going to get this. But, we just ended up talking for a while. And he's like, do you play guitar at all? And I was like, yeah, I play a little bit of guitar. And he's like, would you be able to play in like a Vampire Weekend type band? And I was like, I think so. Yeah, like probably. Yeah. And then, a couple days later I got hit up being like, hey, would you be down to like jam with with these guys to, and then, so essentially I just like met with Ezra, and we, kind of just played acoustic guitars, just, him and I. And
so they just told you like, you just go to this address at this time, and
I just met at like their management office, and we, Ezra and I just like jammed and chatted with like acoustic guitars for like a couple hours, and then but at this point I honestly didn't really have like a guitar setup of any kind. I kind of had like, because I've always played guitar, but I've pretty much all of the things I've done, it's been like production wise, so I'm like doing it with my computer or whatever, so I don't really have like all the gear and stuff like that.
Right.
But so I hit up so that afternoon I was like, and so essentially I found out it's like, okay, next week maybe we'll have you come in and play with the whole band. And I was like, okay, cool. So it's like I got a week to kind of like pull something together. And so I like call my friend, I'm just like, hey, like at some point this week, can you help me like get a little pedal board together? Like I'm doing this like audition, it might be cool. And then I get a call like an hour later being like, hey, can you actually come in tomorrow?
Whoa,
and I was like, yes.
Right.
So I went and just cobbled together a bunch of stuff from my friends. I got a guitar, and then I went to jam with them the next day, and then we kind of just vibed immediately. And then while I was still there was just like hey, so do you want to do this? Like, it's yours. And I was like, cool. Like, that sounds awesome.
You
So
guys just hit it off. That's amazing.
yeah, and it was, and there, it's just been a great time ever since then, honestly.
Sure, sure.
Really great
And
dudes.
I mean, in the next couple of years, you've pretty much played the biggest festivals, the biggest arenas in the world, Brian.
It's crazy.
Literally,
yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. I'm literally not exaggerating. So now that you finally have a chance to like just chill in your corporate, entrepreneurial headquarters and take a breather, what moments like just jump out at you like, sweet mother of God, like I played that, or I saw that, or that crowd, or something like that?
I mean, I like it's honestly the ones that it's the obvious ones, like almost unfortunately, like
Glastonbury Garden.
Glastonbury. Yeah, it's like I used to watch, growing up, they had like, the music channel on TV, whatever, that would just show like hour-long festivals. And like I remember seeing Beyonce's Glastonbury set when I was like, 16 years old or 17 years old, and I was like, dang, that looks crazy. Like, I can't believe that even exists. That pyramid stage is crazy. Like, I can't believe anyone. And then, like, fast forward a couple years later, I'm like playing that freaking stage. It's insane. But in Madison Square Garden, that's like
sold out.
It lived up to the hype. Yeah, sold out. Sold out 360 degrees. Like, it lived up to the hype. Like, it was sick. It was crazy. Like Hollywood, we played the Hollywood Bowl. It's like stuff, just doesn't make any sense.
Sure.
Stuff that if you told me like, even like, a day before I started playing with these guys that it was going to happen, I'd be like, that's never going to happen. But it happened. And it's crazy.
What do you mean? Like a hater kind of thing?
No, I just would have never thought that. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's one of those things that doesn't seem doable. Like,
gotcha.
It's just like I just like, I have a bit of like imposter syndrome or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, you get these opportunities but you always feel like you're like not really worthy of them or something like that, and you just you think like, I don't know, that could never happen to me. Like, you got to be, really lucky. You got to be one of the really good ones in order to do that. And then,
and you are, though.
I was able to do it.
You're modest. Yeah, you're modest. But I'll say it for you. You're a virtuoso to see you on stage. Wow, Brian, you've been so generous with your time. Let me ask you a couple more questions, and then I'll let you off the hook here. But you have such great music taste. What music are you listening to nowadays? What can you recommend to my people? Like, what's on your iPod? Yeah, iPod.
I mean, I've been listening to the new Haim record all this weekend.
Sure,
I think it's
course.
fantastic.
You guys are close to them, right? Yeah.
I mean, Ezra is like, really close with them because, Ariel, the producer who worked on the record, is, a big time collaborator of theirs.
Sure.
I've been listening to, the 1975 a bunch. I've been listening to like a little bit of older stuff, like some Leon Russell, and
nice.
Getting into that. Also been getting into like that new Perfume Genius record, and the new, I don't know, there's a lot of new great music that's out. I'm just like checking to see if there's anything I'm like totally missing that I've been listening to.
Phoebe Bridgers.
Phoebe Bridgers, been listening to Phoebe.
Yeah.
That record's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much good stuff. This band Dance Gavin Dance, I like, put out an album a couple months ago that I really like. New Charlie XCX album's really good.
Is it? I had a chance to listen to that one. Okay, cool.
It's the one that she made, like, it's like the funniest story to me because she like made it in quarantine, like it was her quarantine album.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to put it out on this day, or I think it was I can't remember what day she put it out, but I think it already came out, like, I think it was like April 15th or something it came out, and I was like, I can't believe it's been out for that long. Like, that was the quarantine album that she started and finished during quarantine, or it was like early May or something, but it was just like, we are not even started with this. Like, we got so much time to go. So there's going to be a lot of quarantine albums.
So that's Brian's recommendations. We'll put that in the description and the whole stuff. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
And Brian, I guess let's finish off with with a weighty, heavy, meaty question, but I think it needs to be asked, and it's about the social movements that are happening right now in our country, right? It's kind of a strong thing, and you are leading, you're a leading voice on it, on your social media channels. But just tell us what your feelings about it. Do you think this is like lasting, different than the others? What's your take? Floor is yours.
I think that I think it is different than the others in the way that like it's kind of impossible to ignore at this point, because everyone's going, beforehand everything was just so hustle bustle, so busy. Everyone was just like constantly, essentially now you can't. Everyone's just sitting around. There's nothing to escape. There's nothing to forget. There's no way to forget this. It's just like it's happening, and like you can't avoid it. And like this is the most people have ever talked about this for sure. It sparked a lot of conversations, and there's a lot of work to be done for sure. And I think I'm just so it's a good thing that this happened during a pandemic, but it's also a bad thing that this happened during a pandemic, because I think a lot of people, including myself, are like, I think twice about going to protests. I've been to a handful, but like still at the same time, I'm like, I don't like, I'm concerned about my health. I live with other people, like I don't want to spread it, but I think I think this movement is taking it has a lot of traction, and especially in a couple major cities. But I think a lot of people are afraid of there's a lot of like they're scary to some people phrases that are thrown around, like the abolishing the police, defund the police, whatever. That's like that phrase is very scary to a lot of people. And I get it, because it was scary to me when I first heard it. I was like, but how do we do, but yada yada yada. But there's obviously that's like
it's like limiting beliefs that society's got.
But there's so much stuff there. It's a bigger concept than just that. It's about reallocating resources, and it's about there's certain things like we don't need a person with a badge and a gun to show up to every single thing that people need help with, or every disagreement that someone has. Like that's just, and every person who's trespassed, it's just so much stuff that's unnecessarily done in our country via the police force. And and the police are showing time and time again that the things that people say about them are correct. They're abusing their power at every step of the way, while people are complaining about them abusing their power. And it's like, hey guys, if you guys wanted to make people not think that, you should not do that. They just constantly squander every opportunity they have to maybe make amends or do anything that would make anyone think anything otherwise about them, but they just keep messing up. And that's why people want to get rid of them. And that's why people want to try something else. It's not that we don't want anything. We want something else that's better, that is actually protecting people and actually helping people, not just hindering and harming people, all the time. I don't know. Sure. I could go on forever, but I'll leave it at that for now.
No. Like I encourage people to just check you out, because you give people thought-provoking stuff, with humor, but also like you touch the buttons that need to be touched very well. So thanks for that.
Yeah. So course, thank you,
Brian. It's been a pleasure. I mean, time just flew. It's unbelievable. We went over time. We went over time. Had a great time. We still have so much stuff we could not talk about. But listen, just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your talent, man. Like you are a meteor. You're a trailblazer on stage.
Thanks, man.
And yeah, man. Like, listen, big things, even bigger things are ahead of you. So can't wait to follow your journey, man.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on. This has been great. I appreciate all the kind things you've said. It's very nice.
Well, listen, I didn't make them up. These are facts of your life, man. But you're a modest guy. I get that. So, but thanks, Brian. Appreciate it, man.
Of course. Thanks, man. Nice to meet you.
All the best. Same.
You too.